creatives commentating on the culture they live in. Welcome to Culture Nerds, the most culturally relevant podcast that's ever existed. This week, the nerds talk people pleasing and personal growth. Enjoy. Hey guys, how you doing this week? Sorry, I almost forgot about you.
Hey y'all.
This is Joe and Jolly. Joe, the ad-lib alien. Jolly, the coolest girl on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Just out here podcasting with your mans. All right, well, we kind of wanted to get into a topic about people pleasing and how a lot of us do it, and us in this room certainly. I weirdly had to learn that I was a people pleaser. Well, I never looked at myself as a people pleaser just because, to a certain extent, I'm a shit disturber. I poke people every now and again and stuff like that. And that doesn't seem very people pleasing. But I found the more and more, like the closer someone was to me, the more prone to people pleasing I was.
Okay.
Like, the harder I found it to say no without feeling bad. The harder I found it to just not, to sort of feel like, oh, I don't have the energy for this, or I can't do this, and not feel okay with like just needing to take the time. But yeah, I found myself just really kind of pushing past my own boundaries to make other people feel better. And then it never worked. So like it always felt like I betrayed myself for like no reward.
That's the worst.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it's something I still work on, and I have an example of not having done it. And having felt the urge to do it. So yesterday I was moving, and Jolly's already heard a bunch of stories about moving, so she's already laughing. She can't deal. So I'm picking up I get a call from the movers in the morning, and I'm picking up the truck at noon. They're supposed to show up at 1. And I was trying to sneak enough time from getting the truck to pick up the appliance, the fridge, and bring it back so that they can unload it. It took for... So the movers call me, and they're like, hey, can we come earlier? And I was like, oh, man. I'm like, what time? They go, well, 11. I'm like, 11? I'm not picking up the truck till noon. And he goes, well, can we come at noon? And I felt this urge in me to be like, no, yeah, I'll work around it. I'll find a way to get the fridge into the, I don't know, maybe I can figure something out. I wouldn't want to inconvenience you. And then I thought, why? Do you know, why would I think I'm paying these dudes to show up and do a job? Why did I feel the urge to somehow not inconvenience them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I went, no, we're gonna, let's just stick to 1. I think 1 works. And it was really one of those moments where I was just like, oh, I really wanted to change my plans. And I really thought about it, and I was like, there was really no other reason other than to help these guys with a request essentially they're making of me. Where it's like, hey, can we come earlier? They probably finished their job earlier. They don't want to wait around to have to then work again. And like, I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I've also been up since 8 o'clock in the morning. And I've been running around all day too. Yeah. And the whole reason I got you guys was so that I don't have to carry all this heavy ass shit into the house.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I weirdly was proud of myself being like, no, you're gonna come at 1.
I'm proud of you too, Joe.
Yeah.
Seriously, That's a big one because it's like, I guess you just want to be nice. You want to be liked.
Yes.
And it's just
Yes.
like, yeah, sure, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Because it's like you want to avoid confrontation. At least that's what it is for me. It's like, I want to avoid confrontation.
Not for
So
me.
it's like, oh, what is it for you?
I don't avoid, for me, it's very much, I want them to like me. Please like me. It's very much please like me. It's not conflict, because I'm not averse to conflict.
Ooh.
Like, I'm the kind of person, like, if I have an issue with a friend of mine, I'm gonna be like, I'm pissed at you. Like, I don't like what you said, or like, I'll talk about it. I'll talk to them about it, even if they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want to talk to you about this, and I'm going to talk to you about this, and it's cost me relationships because of that. But I also, that's one of those things where throughout my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
I really fell into people pleasing.
Yeah.
Where I had really like jolted myself out.
Mm-hmm.
During like my teenage years. But then I fell into my 20s, we started to get kind of settled down, we had our like friend group and everything, and I started really people pleasing towards like my friend group.
Mm-hmm.
Because they liked me and I wanted them to keep liking me.
Yeah.
But I just found that like it's this weird thing where you start dating someone, let's say, and they want to change all of these things about you. But then once they change all of those things about you, they're like, "Oh, you're not the same person." Like, all the stuff that I liked about you, you like, it's not there anymore. And it's like, yeah, because that's all the things that you asked me to change. Like, what do you know what I mean? Like, like for me, it's really easy. I don't have a ton of preferences.
Okay.
Right? I have a few. But I don't have a ton. So I'm real easy to be like, when somebody says like, oh, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like what's going on in society where people are like, hey, can you just address me in this way? Can you call me this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. I may not always agree or whatever, but that's irrelevant. Why would I not call you what you want to be called? You know what I mean? So I'll call you it.
For me, it's I'm avoiding confrontation. I people please because it's one of those, like, you know, when you've been around somebody who's just hell bent in having what it is that they want, or how they want you to kind of be in order to receive them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of being like, no, I don't think that's funny, or like, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't like that, or whatever. I'll just be like, oh my god, you don't say. Like, I try to either try to be very engaging without being disingenuous.
Yeah.
Even though part of me is like, I don't
Do you feel like you're stopping or sort of like, I don't know the right word for it. Do you feel like you're disrupting the societal norm or something? Like, do you feel like you're disrupting the peace? Are you just trying to keep the peace in the room? Like, what's the trigger that, like...
It's trying to keep the peace, but I feel like for me, instead of going against the norms, it's conforming to the norms.
Yeah.
Because, is that what you were trying to say? Like conforming to the norms of society, or going against the norms of society?
No, I mean, like, what's the... Like I said, for me, it's... I want you to like me.
Yes.
Right? So I can have the tendency to let myself be molded if I want the person to like me. But that's sort of my line, especially if somebody's like, oh, I don't like you. That's why it's very good for me for people to be like, yeah, I don't like you. And I can be like, okay, cool. You don't like me. I don't have a chance of making you like me. That's cool. You can go that way. But with people that I'm unsure of whether or not they do like me, I'm very much like, no, I want you to like me.
Yeah.
So that always pushes me into the people pleasing. So what's the thing that pushes you, do you feel like, into the people pleasing? Is it a protection of yourself? Is it a keeping a peace in the room? Like,
keeping the peace in the room. Keeping the peace in the room and not and just kind of not being molded in the sense of like I want to become this person, but just like for this experience, for this moment, I will play whatever part you want me to be, but I'm not gonna change as I am as a whole person. So like this interaction will be over and I'll go right back to being myself. Yeah. And you'll meet me again and I'll be myself. And it's like this constant
you forget what you were playing for them.
Yeah. Yeah, because so the example that keeps popping into my mind is I have a friend. She's very, feminine, loves to dress up, loves to show off her femininity, her sexuality in a very healthy way, and just feel like a woman. We're completely opposites. How we get along, I don't know. God was having fun when he put us together. Yeah. But it's one of those, like, whenever we try to hang out, it's like, okay, I know that in order to make her feel comfortable and believe that I'm having fun, even though I'm already having fun just being here and sharing this experience with her, but in order to make her feel comfortable and believe that I am, sure, you want to put shit on my face? Go ahead. Put makeup on my face. Like, that's the kind of people pleasing that I do, where I can keep reaffirming to you, like, no, we're good. But if I even notice a body language or I hear you repeating the same questions or asking me like, yo, you good, that's when it's like, all right, fine, I can't be myself anymore. Yeah. Now I have to be what it is that you want to see for you to feel comfortable to be around. Yes. And but I only do that when I have to work with someone or if I really care about you. Yeah. And I do it with the people that you work with because no shit, right? Like, you have to figure out a way to get along with
the people that I work with, it's it's a lot easier just because, like, you don't really make those kinds of connections. And because most people are doing exactly what, we're saying that is happening. Yeah. But doing it for the people that you care about it's tough. And I know exactly what you're talking about when they're like, but like, are you having fun? But like, you're not smiling. But like, you usually blink 3 times when you're excited, and it's just. But I'm not lying to you. Why would I lie to you? Exactly. I'm good. I'm chill. I'm relaxed. I'm, just enjoying myself. Mm-hmm. But you're right when they're like, yeah, but like when someone's happy,
they smile.
Yeah, they smile and they laugh and they tilt their head like this.
And they go, ha!
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't laugh.
You didn't go, ha! No, it's true. Yeah, and then you feel like you have to be like, okay, cool, I guess I gotta up it. Valerie does this to me sometimes where like she'll come to me with something that she's upset about. Right? Like, this person, really upset me at work or whatever. They're being so silly and blah, whatever. Whatever, yeah. Just a vent. And I'll do that stupid thing where I'll like be trying to get her to understand their side. That's part of my people pleasing too, is like I can't not see their point of view. So like this idea of like I can see where I can find a space in myself to see where that's true. Right? Even though I don't think that's really the truth. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I can see a space where that can be the truth. Yeah. So seeing other people's perspective like that makes it one of those things that I'm fighting constantly not to be like, well, I mean, they got a point. And that's part of my people pleasing too, is maybe, I mean, he's got a point. He punched me, but I mean, he's got a point. I was kind of being loud. What are you gonna do?
Oh no.
So it's hard for me, especially with people that I know, not to do that sort of active thing. Because Valerie will come to me and say something like that event where it's just, I'm supposed to just be on her side. You know what I mean? But I'll go, hey, but maybe he meant it this way or blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, why can't you just be on my side? And I've started to do this thing now where she'll say something like that and I'll just go, yeah, you know what? That guy's an asshole. I can't believe he even talked to you like that. He should fall down a flight of stairs. We hate him. And then she's just like, all right, yeah, that's it. And I was like, cool. We all got it. You know what I mean? Like I just give her the thing that she wants. And it works out so much better because it really goes to what you're saying is people have a very specific thing that they want from you. And if you're not giving it to them.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me to just observe people and like just see how much it disturbs them that you don't feel or think the same way they do.
Yeah.
And I find it to be so interesting. Like another time I was talking to my boss and I forget what it was that we were talking about, but I have a certain perspective on the situation based off of things that I've read and that I know and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, have you tried this tactic? Have you asked your doctor this? Maybe try that. And I'm trying to like, when you're trying not to give advice, but just to throw little tidbits and see if anybody catches.
Yes.
And she was just like stubborn and like hell bent and like, no, what her experience was real. There's nothing else. And it was just one of those like, yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. So I'm going to just shut the fuck up right now. And I'm just going to be like, oh my God, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. No, that's what your doctor said? Then, well, no other answer.
What are you going to do?
Well, there goes the phone. I guess I should pick it up.
Yes. I totally do that. I tell Valerie all the time, I'm like, look, I'm done correcting people. Mm-hmm. I'm absolutely done. When you said that people have such a hard time when you don't think like them or you don't feel the way that they like expect you to kind of feel. Yeah. That's the worst. It's the worst because that's where you get all these things of, what? You like that? Or like, you're into, why would you, that's so, whatever. And they don't really have a reason why they don't like whatever it is that you're bringing up. Yeah. It's just this thing of just like, ooh, I thought about that once and it was bad, so you're kind of bad now. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm still the same person. Like,
you just know one more thing about me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it happens with everyone though. Like everyone wants you to have a specific like response. And I feel I've always felt more comfortable just like being like, okay, I'm like when I'm not on stage I don't feel like I have to perform. And maybe that's because I get on stage and perform that I don't feel the need to sort of be as performative in real life. Yeah. Whereas I feel like other people, the world is a stage. Mm-hmm. So I feel like other people are on stage whenever we're not.
Yeah, totally. I completely see that.
I don't... What do you do with that other than when someone tells you 2 + 2 is 5, you go, yeah. I mean, what am I going to tell you? No?
Yeah.
And then
much.
Argue with you?
Pretty much.
But I mean, a few years ago, that would have been me. I'd have been like, no, it's 4. And I would have spent an hour trying to get you to stop thinking that it was 5. Because I thought the world has some kind of order or some kind of whatever. And I'm just finding out that it's, everybody has their own little world.
Literally, it is so interesting, isn't it?
Everyone has their own little world. Like, I told Unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
I was having this discussion with him where I said, the father that I had
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the father that my sister had.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I were like, hey, my dad maybe didn't, I don't know, maybe he didn't get everything up to snuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got some notes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say I got some notes. You know what I mean? But she could come to me and be like, no, he was perfect. I know what you're talking about. He was like the best father. And the weirdest thing about that is she wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
She's not wrong. That's just her. That's the father she had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the experience that she had. So it's like, even looking at the same person, it's all about who's looking at them.
Yes. I'm nodding my head.
And
Yes.
And when that stuff, especially the people that like don't go through this drudgery that I feel like we go through sometimes creatively, I feel like they don't really go into those kind of like, let's say, discoveries of finding like, oh, I mean, I have a perspective and it's not wrong, but also your perspective is not wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think a ton of people
do that.
Hell
no.
I think they have like, this is my perspective, and this is the perspective everyone should have, and this is the right perspective.
Yeah.
And like, not that I don't have my own perspective, my own thoughts, or my own anything, but I've always been real weary of just being like, I'm absolutely right, or I know exactly. I've always been like, this is right for me. Like, for me specifically, like, this is correct. Like, this is good. Like, I could go, and I understand why you would be super uncomfortable in the way that you describe being uncomfortable on stage, just because you don't generally want a ton of eyes on you. You know what I mean?
I'm an introvert, yeah.
So, of course, you're going to have that response to that particular setting. Whereas for me, I had the different response just because I'm extroverted. I'm looking to get connected to those people.
Yeah.
And that also plays into me wanting to people please, like I had mentioned before, where I'm like, I just want to connect with you, regardless of what it is. So it's, I don't know, it's always a struggle and a balance to kind of be like, do I have the energy for this? Can I like, is this person worth it to just even give them all this energy and really not get anything in return? Like, I'm sure like, the girl that you mentioned that was your friend puts makeup on your face and does your hair. I'm sure like, what do you guys talk about? Like, what is, I would say like the main topic that you guys cover, is it like relationships, or it doesn't even have to be like specific?
Relationships, sex. We bond.
Well, there you go. That's how you guys are friends.
We we have some things in common.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah.
So that's really what connects you, and I'm pretty sure that you get a good amount of like refilling from those kind of conversations, from you basically interacting with her and being like, oh my God, there's someone that also feels like me in these situations. Like,
it's so refreshing when you can find someone like that. I feel like for me, I go about it with the belief of like, even though this is my perspective, I'm giving myself the I guess you can say, chance, or that I might not be right.
Yes.
And I'm okay with possibly being wrong, even though I'm clinging on to my perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a reason why I tend to people please. It's like, I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt that I might just be wrong. So I will look at this other perspective.
Yes.
I will enter that world, where I feel like a lot of people don't do that unless they really care for someone. And even then.
Yeah.
I
think people have their point of view and their way of really looking at it. And I like what you said, where you were saying, you always allow the possibility of you being wrong. And I think a lot more people need to allow the possibility for them being wrong. Because a lot of the time, the people who aren't like listening to what I'm saying to them, it's just because, it feels like almost just because they just don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, even your friend where she's like, oh, are you good? Are you good? And you're like, I'm good. You know what I mean? She just doesn't want to wake up tomorrow morning to like a text message that you send her where you're just like, I wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's gonna keep going like, I knew it. You know, that sort of catastrophic thinking where you think, something bad's gonna happen, and then it actually happens. You're like, I knew it. I should have just trusted my negative instincts or whatever.
Exactly. Or like just wanting me, and I think this is what's so interesting about being an introvert. Some extroverts don't know how to deal with me if I don't match their energy.
Really?
Yes. Oh. Let there be light.
Yeah, light. Because the dimmer was too low.
I've noticed that with her, and I've noticed that with other people in the past. It's like, for me, we can have a party. Like, let's say we're in the middle of a party right now. I probably dance like 2 songs in a row, and now I'm comfortable, still having fun, drinking my wine, watching you guys dance.
Yeah.
Or having small talk and then continuing to watch you guys dance until I feel like going back out on the dance floor. Yeah. For her, it's like, no, like, we're on. Let's do this. And it's just like, okay, all right.
She's entering the battlefield every time she
almost
gets on the dance floor.
That's what it looked like, right? Yeah. No, like, I remember, was it this past weekend that we hung out? And we had like a long weekend vacation, the little 3 of us, and I remember us the first night of us hanging out, and it was just like, all right, where can we get free drinks? All right, let's drink. Jolly, you're babysitting that drink, like, you need a drink again. Drink. I'm not a drinker. Okay, I sip, I enjoy it, but I'm not like, that's when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, it was just like, let's get this anxiety out, give me a shot of Henny or a cocktail, like a mixed drink, and let's get fucked up and dance. Now, I'm comfortable just being myself and just being in the area and interacting with people.
You know what's funny is me being comfortable always made so many other people uncomfortable.
How can you do that?
Here's the thing. So, like, when I speak to people and I'm a debater, so like if somebody brought up an idea to me and I'm very comfortable with my viewpoint on it because of that same thing where I go, well, I might be wrong. Mm-hmm. I should consider the other side. Mm-hmm. And so I've argued the other side to myself already. So you're coming in after I've already had 10 debates about it, and you're coming in with debate 1 type of bullet points. I gotta be like, you're outmatched here. You can't. So whenever I'm like super comfortable with a stance that I'm okay with, like when I criticize, maybe I go like, before it was legalized, and I got my card for pot, people were always just like, oh, but it's a thing. I was like, it's a drug. You're right. It's a drug. You want me to show you some more drugs? Tylenol, Advil, anything that you've ever put in your body and guess what? This can be grown out of the earth. Just cliche pothead shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I've already done the arguing of like, well, how does this affect me? How does this? How does this that and the other? Like, is this good for me? But I'm now okay with it. I'm now sit in my, in my seat, and the foam has come around me, and it's a comfortable position, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. And now somebody's coming in and being like, well, you can't sit on that seat. That seat is uncomfortable, and I'm like, no, it's not, sir. You should probably hop in here and get in on some of this. This is cozy. People look at that as arrogance. They look at it as, oh, you just think you're right. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yes, for me. For me. Right? Not for you.
No.
If you sit down and you say this is uncomfortable, then I'm not going to tell you it's not. Yeah. But I'm going to sit down because it's cozy for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that makes... It's that thing where it's like it makes people uncomfortable that you're not siding with them.
Yeah.
And like, I don't care if you have a different position than me.
I do.
I don't give a shit. Like, at all.
You know how hard it is to be viewed as the nice person?
Wait, what do you mean?
You're like, I don't give a fuck! But you can't say it out loud because you're the nice person. So it's just like,
Well, that's why I've developed it as like a snarky joke type of thing. Where it's like, what I want to say is, okay, you're making a silly point about drugs. Here's some more drugs. But I won't say it like that. I'll just be like, well, Advil, Tylenol, just...
Oh, yeah.
The worst times are, I feel the worst when I'm forced to people please. Like when it's my awful, damage just being like, make them like you. Mm-hmm. It feels more like, okay, I need to get that under control. Mm-hmm. But that's what I hated so much about customer service. Was just the whole like the customer's always right. Mm-hmm. I don't believe you. They're wrong.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deal with it. That was the part of me that was like, they don't want me to yell at you, which makes me want to yell at you so much. Mm-hmm. It makes me want to yell at you so much. And maybe that's the shit disturber in me of just being like, oh, you told me not to do that? Damn, I kind of want to do that. I don't have a ton of that, but it's in there somewhere for sure.
I know what you mean. I like to do that every once in a while too. Charlie, we're not talking about this, and I'll start talking about I like doing that.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, this isn't what I meant when I said being comfortable makes somebody else uncomfortable, but there is some times where I'm like, oh, you feel weird talking about this, and I'll just like push through or whatever.
Me too.
And just like force them to have the conversation, and everybody's just like, oh, I can just feel everyone like shoulder tensing up, and
it's delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
And this is why we're friends.
I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's like my vengeful part that's just like, oh, you're gonna take my people pleasing for granted, and then I just like put him in an uncomfortable conversation for no reason.
Cause it's hilarious. I mean, I do it cause it's fun. It's just like
it's pretty funny watching like
people cringe.
People respond to stuff that they're just not prepared for. Mm-hmm. That they're just like not ready for.
Yep.
There are these dudes online that talk a lot about this stuff, and they spoke about how making someone uncomfortable can kind of let you see who they really are, especially in a situation where like, you know, like maybe you're just meeting somebody and you're shaking their hand or whatever, and it's like, oh, you shake it 3 times or whatever. You know, you kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And maybe you like hold on to their hand a little longer, and then it's like, what are you
doing?
Like, stop! What are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get to see whatever character or costume they had on. They have to like take it off for a second and be like, wait, no, I don't like this. And you can kind of see them a little bit better. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they'll even like laugh. Ooh. So that might break the tension, maybe make them feel a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. So like that uncomfortableness, I don't know, I've never shied away from it. Mm-hmm. And even in the sense of just being, like you said, like I'm just being at a party. Yeah. And they're not okay with that. It makes them uncomfortable that like you're okay with sitting down and just having some small talk and just, you know, enjoying the party in the way that you want to enjoy the party.
Exactly.
But you're so sure of this is the way that I want to enjoy the party.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, why would I not enjoy the party this way?
Exactly. Like.
But they're like, but that's not how you party. This is how you party.
Exactly. That's exactly my friend's mentality of like, this is how we're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to get fucked up. We're supposed to flirt with men. And whatever else happens, and then we twerk at the end of the night. And then it's like, I'm all down for the drinking. I'm all down for the twerking. I'm all down. But I don't like, I feel uncomfortable trying to meet someone at their level because that's what they want from me. Yes. Because then I feel like I'm being fake. Yes. And I'm not being present in the moment the way I want to be. Whereas, you know, it's not like I hope I'm not like a Eeyore, like low energy. But it's one of those, like, for me, maybe depending on the situation of the night, I might just need a little warming up. Like, it's whatever. But yeah, I love making people feel uncomfortable in the sense of like, for me, it's mostly to normalize a conversation. Like if a topic comes up that makes them feel very uncomfortable. For women, it's usually something about their bodies. Oh, I'm honing in on that shit because I will not allow you to speak bad about yourself or bring yourself down. I want you to explore what it is and then make fun of it and let it go. Like that's the type of shit that I do. Yeah,
I think I'm trying to do that too. Mm-hmm. I think I'm trying to do that in the sense of like I push people debate wise because I want them to explore. I don't want you to agree with me. A lot of people think that like I'm fighting them on it because I want them to agree with me. I'm fighting them on it because I want them to have a better argument for their own viewpoint. I want them to understand their point of view well enough that they can explain it to me and I can understand what it is. Do you know what I mean?
I don't feel like a lot of people do that nowadays.
No, they don't.
Right?
No, they like, and that's the thing is, a lot of the times I'm asking people, how did you get there? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like this, and I know, what a nightmare. We're gonna talk about, Mr. 45. Yeah. But, you run into people where you're like, I never would have thought that you'd be in support of this. Mm-hmm. and they tell you their reasoning.
Yeah.
And I go,
But
I can see where that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But here's all the other things that you should be considering as well as what you're considering.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying don't consider that or ignore the issue that has value to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't make a decision, especially that's going to affect other people, without having fully thought it through.
Yeah.
And it's I honestly, it's so confusing and baffling to me a lot of the time because I can't not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly going like, well, is that true? Or can I don't know. Maybe it's this way. Maybe I'm being paranoid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm talking to somebody and you tell them, let's say for example, I don't like bangs.
How dare you?
See? No, but I don't like bangs. I don't care if you get bangs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna be like, I don't like them. And if you felt okay with how you looked in bangs,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, all right, cool, man.
Yeah.
I like them. And I'd be like, good for you. Excellent. You know what I mean? But if I go like, why do you like bangs? And you're like, I don't know, my mom got me bangs when I was little. I might be like, is that the only reason? Like, you don't like the way they frame your face. You don't like that they make it easy to style your hair in a specific way. None of that?
No.
And it's so often that people are just like, I don't know, that's just how you do it. And it's like,
I hate those kind of responses, yeah.
Yeah. I, like, when I tell someone, why do you think that way? And they're like, that's just how it is, or that's how society is, or that's... It was like, oh, okay, you haven't thought about it enough.
I feel like it's a cop-out.
Yeah. It's really the response of, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I don't care to know.
Yeah.
Which is even more disturbing. It's like, so then why talk to me? Like...
Yes. Yes.
Like, if you're not even trying to understand this so you can speak about it from your perspective, why are you talking to me at all? Like, why? What about this?
Like, you don't even care about understanding it on your side. What makes me think you're even going to try and understand it on my side?
Because they're not.
There's just nothing there.
No.
So that's why I've stopped the fighting people and going just, oh yeah, 2 + 2 = 5. You're right.
You're right.
You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's funny is people respond better to that. I get more done just going, you're absolutely correct. You know why? Because even, and here's the beautiful thing is, even when I'm being genuine and I'm like, you're right. We'll just leave it that way or whatever. People have a tendency to be like, what? They're thrown back by the fact that you're actually like just siding with them. You're not fighting them.
Really? I don't think I've experienced that.
It's happened to me like a lot where I just go like, yeah, no, you're right. And they're like, well, I mean, I guess I kind of think this because of, and I'm like, if I was trying to get you to explore the idea, you wouldn't have wanted to. Do you know what I mean? But because I went, oh, I don't care. You're right. That I don't disagree with anything that you just said. I don't know what it is. I don't know what causes them to like want to keep explaining it to you when you're like, all right, I don't care.
I think, did you say out loud that you don't care, or at least showed it in your body language? That you don't care? Because that's probably why.
I think people just can pick up on it.
So it's probably your body language or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But they're like...
Put your acting skills. Use them.
No. Remember, I'm hard on my sleeve.
That's right.
My first reaction,
Uh-huh.
like my first facial response, I have a very hard time stopping that one.
Yes.
A very hard time stopping my initial just, you said it, and my face contorted. Like, that first one, and that's the thing, is no matter how quickly I get it back to like, okay, go to the appropriate
response.
Appropriate facial expression. Or the facial expression that won't make them feel like you just made them feel. You ever done that? Like, where you're talking to someone and they say something and you just go like, oh.
All the time.
Some expression comes across your face and they go like, what? Like you see the panic in their eyes just like rise up and you're like, oh no. Put the smile face back on because they're panicking and they're not gonna tell you. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, oh, that made me anxious. Here, let me talk to you about it. It's just it's so fun. I watch people go on emotional roller coasters constantly. Constantly.
Oh, no.
And the thing is I'm watching it,
Uh-huh.
and there used to be so many times where because of people pleasing, I would go on this emotional roller coaster with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, you need a buddy to rise up in anxiety with, and then plummet, and then kind of be okay, and I found myself just like being exhausted by that because that's not my temperament is very like, yeah, I have lows and highs, but for the most part, I'm like generally in the middle. Like
Ooh.
I'm generally
That's a
like-
good place to
like-
be.
outside of like my anxieties being triggered or that sort of stuff, I'm generally like, okay, this is nice. I like this. I'm having fun. Blah blah blah. This kind of sucks and this is awful.
Mm-hmm.
But I always find I'm with people who are going on these like real like super highs and then like super lows, and I can't do that all the time. Because of the fact that, like, my temperament is, for the most part, consistent. So those big, huge ups and downs,
Yeah.
when I plummet, I will plummet. Like, I will plummet. And it'll be a drag to try and drag myself back up to neutral.
Ooh, okay.
And in the same way, like, if I'm going way too high with you, my anxiety will just, like,
Go up there with you.
yeah, and I'll have a hard time like purging it.
Oh,
I'll have a hard time just like getting it out,
Mm-hmm.
especially if I'm still with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like it becomes attached to sort of their emotional pull
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. And that's something that I've had to pay more attention to.
Interesting.
And just realizing that I may not people please in some of the ways that I see other people please,
Mm-hmm.
but like I have my own ways of like trying to get people to like still like me and see me and everything.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. Like what's, as an introvert, like what's the point for you where you're just like, this is just exhausting? Like let's say at that party, what would be the breaking point of you being like, okay, I'm gonna go home now?
That's a good one. I feel like if the encouraging to drink or do something that I don't feel comfortable doing keeps going, then it's like, okay, I have to leave.
The peer pressure to
The peer
perform?
pressure, there we go. Mm-hmm. Peer pressure.
Peer pressure to perform.
Yeah. That for me is like a big one because it's what that triggers my anxiety because then it makes me feel like, oh, like how I'm being right now isn't good enough. So that means I'm not good enough. So I need to leave because then I feel like I'm bringing the energy down.
Ooh, I feel that. I feel that super hard.
Yeah, so it's
except my responses probably fall more into performative.
Yeah, no, for me it's like if said person continues with like, no, you have to dress like this and you have to stand like that and you have to whatever, it's like, oh, I'm not good. And so for me, when I come across people like that, I set my boundaries in the sense of like, I just start slowly ghosting them.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I know right now on how to set a boundary. It's like, I can't deal with you. When I'm with you, I deal with you by accepting and people pleasing and being the person that you want me to be. And then after that, it's like, bye.
The process I've started in terms of setting boundaries has been sort of, expressing it to them, like being like, oh, I didn't like when you said that.
Yeah.
And here's why I didn't like when you said that, or whatever.
That's very mature. I should probably practice that.
And then if they don't really respond, I'll probably have a second interaction with them where I'm like, hey, you know how you said that? Like, that's not really how I want to be spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's how you're going to continue to speak to me, then I don't think we can. Like, I'm really starting to get to that point where I'm like, I have to be able to just let people go altogether.
Yeah. That's a good feeling.
It is, but for me, it does have that sort of added twinge of like isolation. Where, like where you were explaining where you're at a party and you gotta go because people want you to be a thing, and you're like, I don't want to be. This isn't one of the times that I'm trying to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be the character Jadira. I'm just trying to like exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get how that can be exhausting, and I have a response to that too, where I'm like, oh. Yeah, okay, I guess I am not being happy enough, or I'm not expressing it enough, or whatever, and then I am not good enough. Mm-hmm. So I related a lot to you saying that, but I have the response of, okay, kick it up a notch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Turn it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Radio DJ voice comes on. You know what I mean? And I'll get up and dance some more, even though I'm like sweating my butt off, and like I just want to sit and like catch a breeze or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that can be really exhausting.
It is.
And I've really gotten to a point where I'm really paying attention to like how I feel in the present situation, and just going with that more than just being like, oh, this person wants me to be like this or whatever. I think the reason I do that is because I feel like if I am bringing the room down, like you were saying, I'm becoming a burden to the room, or I'm some kind of trouble in the room.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, you have the response of like, I'm gonna eliminate the trouble from the room, where I'm like, okay, at first I might be like, okay, I'm gonna correct it. Yeah. Or I'll try and like mold to it, and for the most part it generally works, but again, it does this thing where it's like, I put up the plexiglass of like, here's the drawing you want, and then I'm behind it and you can't see me, you know what I mean? So people, it's like that thing where people know you, but like, do they like know you no. Like, do they have like that kind of insight, that kind of like intuition, with you? And it's, I
mean, I've tried it a few times of like bringing it up a notch, but it feels like so much more work. Yeah,
it can be a lot of work.
And it's just one of those like, why the fuck should I burden myself? I really need to stop swearing. Why should I burden myself?
We can't show the kids any of this great content because you won't stop fucking swearing.
I have a potty mouth.
You need Jesus is what you need.
Who you telling? I phone him every night. Yeah.
Man, Buttercup really wants to be a part of the podcast, huh?
Yeah, she does.
Really, really trying to get on the mic.
Daddy, let me get on the mic. People pleasing.
Yeah. It's still a work in progress. But,
For sure.
I'm making strides.
You are. You took your first step yesterday with the movers. There we go. There we go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another episode.
Gracias.
We will see you next week
on Culture Nerd.
Thank you for listening. Remember, rate, review, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.